everyone. How's everyone doing? Hopefully you can see and hear me. I just want to check in with the group. If someone can just message me in the chat window, let me know that you can see and hear me. That would be great. Awesome. Okay, great. I have a few confirmations, so that's all I need. I know a few people will still continue to join us here in the next few minutes, and so we'll take a little bit of time to do a brief introduction and some housekeeping to get everyone in on the course and ready to go. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us here today. I know some of you got our last minute announcement through our Easelly website, so it's quite possible we may have interrupted your design work, but I'm glad that you can go ahead and join us here today. I'm Dinah, and I am the Customer Success Trainer at Easelly, and I host these live events for our customers to give them the opportunity to learn a little bit more about creating infographics and using it with Easelly. And I'm very excited to offer this course once again. The last time I did this was back in January, so it's been almost a couple of months. So thank you so much. We get a lot of great feedback from this course, especially for people who are brand new to infographics and just starting to wrap their head around being able to create it. So thank you so much. Okay, with so many people starting to join us here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover some housekeeping items about our live event here today, just so that you're comfortable with using Crowdcast through this event, and then we will launch into the course, and I will make sure that I maximize my browser window so that you can see everything clearly. So for you, what I want to let you know is that just underneath this video screen, you'll see a section for questions and answers. This is a good place for you to put some of your questions and answers, or questions, and we will of course try to answer those through today's session. I will check these at the very end, and then if there's something that we can't answer for you today, then we'll be sure to come back to this page, enter that response so that you can of course check back in on that. Another good place to communicate with everyone here today is through the chat on the right hand side. And I have a colleague here with me, Latasha. She's our blog editor, and she is just fabulous, and she is going to be monitoring the chat for us. So thank you so much, Latasha. Can everyone say hi, Latasha? I know a few responses. There we go. Thank you. Thank you, Josie. Thanks, John. Thanks, Sandra. Thanks, Eunice. Thanks, Marco. Awesome. Okay. Now, the other thing that I would like to show you is, again, just underneath this video window is the polls section. And this is a place where you can go to give me a little bit more information about yourself. Right now, we have about 60 people here joining us, and we have about, well over 150 registrations. So there's a lot of people, and this is the best way that I can get to know you a little bit better and get a better understanding as to who's interested in learning more about infographics and creating infographics in Easelly. So if you can answer the poll questions, and then also let me know a little bit about your experience with Easelly and whether you've used it before, if you're brand new to it. So it looks like quite a few of you are starting to respond, so thank you so much. We have quite a few small business owners and entrepreneurs. We have some professionals, some nonprofits. We have some professors, possibly some students joining us in the higher ed space. We have K-12, some educators, and some other, if you want to give us some more information, and if you don't quite fit into these categories, feel free to tell us a little bit more about yourself in the chat box. Okay, and in terms of your experience with Easelly, okay, it looks like a lot of you have never used it before and you're very interested in getting started. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover all of the background information you need to know about creating an infographic, and then at the second half of the session will certainly walk you through Easelly and show you how you can use Easelly to create those infographics. We'll also provide some more information about upgrading through Easelly. Some of you may have been using our basic account and you're wondering whether or not upgrading is right for you. So we'll provide pricing information and also give you some more information about what you actually get with the Pro account as well. We also have some people that are using it already and some that use it all the time. So if you have some great experience and you want to share how you're using Easelly and how it's working for you, what you're using it for, feel free to just go ahead and provide that information to us in the chat window. I know that everyone wants to learn from each other, so any tips that you can provide beyond what we're covering here today, we all appreciate it. And I'll tell you what, I always learn something from the audience as well. So thanks so much for sharing. Okay, well with that, let's go ahead and jump into our content here. Like I said, the very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to launch into the content, give you some basic information about Easelly. And I'm going to go ahead and just minimize my video window so that you can really get a good look at what I'm covering here. All right. Okay, so this is just some information, and what I've done is I have taken some information from our Crash Course in Infographics ebook and tried to condense it in a very short little course here. If you want to get some more information and go a little bit beyond what we're covering here today, we will be providing a link to the Crash Course in Infographics ebook in our blog, and you can certainly access additional details. But hopefully this is enough to just get you a little bit more comfortable and get you started. Okay, so when you're creating an infographic, you do want to ask yourself a few questions. And, you know, some of you may not even know, you know, what an infographic is. And surprisingly enough, you know, you may come across people who don't. You know, when I first started working for Easelly, my husband was like, what's an infographic? What is it? You know, I'm not exactly sure what you're doing. And, you know, once I showed him some examples of what an infographic was, he's like, oh yeah, I see those all the time. You know, and really, you know, infographics are going to be visual representations of information. It can be representations of data, knowledge, and it's all intended to present information quickly and clearly, and it's intended to educate and inform. And so when you're building your infographic, you really want to, I'm just chuckling here at a comment. Someone's telling me to send my husband to Pinterest. Trust me, that's exactly where I went. I went to Google Images, Pinterest to show him the examples, and he finally got what I was doing. So when you're building out your infographic, you want to ask yourself, who are you looking to inform? When you're building your infographic, make sure you have your audience in mind. You really want to get a good picture of who you're looking to create this infographic for. It's quite possible that your message might need to be created multiple times based off of your target audience. So if you're trying to reach moms that, you know, work from home or, you know, are blogging, you know, you might have the same endpoint for that target audience, but what they might appreciate and the way that they design, that they want to take in that information, the way you design that infographic is going to vary compared to maybe a small business owner who wants something maybe a little bit more professional and not as flashy. So you definitely want to keep that in mind. You also want to ask, what are you looking to inform them about? Now, you may have come into this session already knowing what you want to inform your audience about, and that's excellent because, you know, you can just jump right into starting to gather the information that you need to compile your infographic. But sometimes people don't know what they actually want to share, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But you definitely want to ask yourself that question. You also want to ask yourself, why do you actually want to create this infographic and why do you want to inform your audience? The last thing you want to do is spend hours playing around in the Easelly Designer and not really getting anywhere with it because you weren't really clear about your end goal and what you were looking to accomplish by creating it and what you're actually looking to inform your audience about. So definitely take the time to ask yourself that question. Okay. Now, if you already have your idea for an infographic, that's great, and you've saved some time. And you definitely want to keep track of all of your ideas in a journal or, you know, some type of place where you can come back to it. But if you are looking to generate these ideas, there's a few places you can go to get started. Now, this isn't the be-all, end-all. There's so many places you can go to generate some ideas, but hopefully this is a good place to get you started. The very first place I like to go is to use the news. Current events are some of the best ways to get inspiration and ideas for an infographic. Current events are timely. Everyone's talking about current events. And it really can offer access to new data that people haven't seen in an infographic. So that's an opportunity for you to jump right on that. So using the news is a great thing to do. And what you can do with that is, you know, try to make the connection between your message and, you know, something that is trending in the news. Another thing that I'd like to point out is that there are a lot of resources in your library and they may have subscriptions, already paid subscriptions to online publications that you can't get freely on the web. And what's great about that is that they have access to these subscriptions that are very specific to particular trades. So trade journals and you know, peer-reviewed academic content. So I definitely encourage that, you know, you also take the time to visit your local library. And I don't mean get in the car, actually go to their website, because you can access the databases from their website. And you'll find that there is a wealth of information there. And because you know, sometimes people forget to do that, you know, you're getting a leg up on some additional information that can work on your for your infographic. Another thing to check out is just going to Reddit, Twitter, and Facebook. All of these social media outlets showcase what's popular through their trending topics area. So this is a great place for you to get an idea as to what people are talking about, what they're sharing, what they're liking. And again, similar to the news, you can, even if you think something is completely unrelated to your topic or your industry or your expertise, you know, what can make your infographic interesting is if you can make the connection between what you're looking to communicate and something that is trending. And, you know, that will definitely get and attract people to your infographic and your message. Exploring existing infographics is also a great thing to do in order to get some inspiration, but even just to get some design tips and ideas, it's a great way to take a look at examples as to what is working really well and what looks good, and you know what people are doing in terms of the data that they're sharing and how they're communicating that information. So Google Images, going to Pinterest, and as well as, you know, checking out some of the infographic directories for inspiration are all great places to go. Helpareporter.com is another great resource. You can sign up for a daily email for media opportunities, and these opportunities could certainly turn into an infographic. So that could be another good thing to take a look at, and take a look at those daily emails, see what could be trending in the future, and kind of stay on top of that and be ahead of the curve. Now, lastly, I want to maybe suggest that you just lean on your expertise and create an infographic on a niche you know well. Whether you are an expert in your field, your industry, you know, definitely go ahead and communicate that information, back up your take or stance or position on a topic with additional credible information, of course, but you know, you really can show your authority by sharing what you're an expert in. Now, I know we have some educators here on the call, and you might be working with very young students. And so if you're trying to find a way to introduce infographics to them and the idea of communicating visually, what you can do is ask your students, you know, what do they know really well? What do they consider themselves an expert in? And it can be something very simple, you know, whether it's making a bowl of cereal in the morning, or, you know, tying your shoelace, or, you know, playing a particular sport. There's so many different things that they consider themselves an expert in. So challenge your students to ask them that question and see how they can build out an infographic. So I just wanted to throw that out there for our educators. Okay, so the next thing that I want to move on to is the basic infographic structure. And I want to talk a little bit about this because, again, oftentimes people will jump into the Easelly Designer and they'll just start, dropping in images and information in there. And this is kind of where people start to lose a little bit of time. But what you want to do is make sure that you understand the basic infographic structure, and you'll find that it's very, very similar to an outline or the structure of an essay or an article. And so, of course, you certainly want to start off with a title or a topic and make sure that your title and your topic is catchy and it pulls people in. And then also, you want to provide just a little introduction to a topic. So the very beginning, this is only going to be maybe a sentence, maybe two. And the purpose of this is to provide that context for your reader. Your reader wants to have a little bit of background information before they start to dive into the data and the information that you're looking to share. If you don't provide that context, they kind of will start to read and realize that they don't really know why they're engaging in this infographic to begin with, and that they don't have all the information that they need before they start to look into it. So definitely provide just a brief sentence or two. Let them know what they're starting to read. Now, the middle or the main portion of your infographic is going to provide all of the examples and all of the facts that you need to support your topic or your argument. And this is really where the meat of your infographic is going to be. So you'll want to make sure that you are providing all of your examples here, and then also you want to make sure that you're very careful about the examples and the facts data that you're choosing to put in here. Infographics are meant to be consumed very quickly, and oftentimes, the attention span of your audience is very little. So you want to keep that in mind and really be selective of the data and the information that you choose to put in your infographic. So if it's just something that is nice to know and isn't completely related to the topic, take it out. So, you don't want to put information that isn't really going to move your argument along. Now, at the very end, you're going to summarize and reinforce your argument and or provide a call to action. Now, this is important. Again, kind of going back to your end goal, why are you even creating this infographic? This is really where you're going to put your end goal in mind. Do you want to drive people back to your website? Do you want to drive people to your social media accounts? Do you want to encourage people to share your infographic so that it goes viral? Do you want to direct a student to more information on a topic to learn more and engage in more content? Do you want to direct students back to your classroom website for more details? It can be just about anything. So you can certainly add hyperlinks into your infographic, or if it's just a matter of telling people what to do, that's certainly very important. Now, one thing to keep in mind, of course, is that with your infographics, I know that a lot of you have probably engaged in some really long infographics, and some infographics are very nicely done. But just keep in mind that when you create a very long infographic, that you run the risk of losing your audience before they even get to your call to action. And so if they don't make it all the way to the end of your infographic, where you're telling them to go back to your website or buy your product or your service or whatever you want them to do, they're not going to see that if they don't get to the very end. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Okay. All right, so I am going to pause here, check in with the group, and see what questions are coming in. It seems like it's been a little quiet in the chat window. Latasha is confirming that there are no questions so far. So let me just take a quick look here. Okay, JW Danks states that infographics work exceptionally well as a teaching or a learning tool. because they closely mirror the base patterns by which the human brain absorbs information. Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's something that engages people, and, you know, they consume it much easier and better. And, you know, if you even combine some of the content where people can kind of refer back to the text, it at least gets people in and introduced to the content where they are engaged to learn more and want to learn more. Okay. Okay, and then we're getting a question about, what other ways to show medical reports? Sure, absolutely. So with medical reports, we actually do have some medical templates in our Easelly Pro version and in our infographic. And of course, it all depends on the information that you're looking to share, whether it's visual communication in terms of steps to taking care of yourself, or if it's medical data, of course, you'll show more graphs and charts. It really depends. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. Okay, and then resumes. We do have quite a few different resume templates in Easelly Pro if you get the Pro version. So, you know, that's definitely a good thing to check out. Okay. And I'm not sure if you guys lost video and sound, but maybe it's just one person. I'm hoping it's just one. Okay. I'll keep moving along. Let me know if you're still with me. Okay, good. You're still with me. Awesome. Okay, well, let's keep moving along here. So let's go to the 7 most common types of infographics. Now, the 7 most common types of infographics, we're just going to quickly walk through these. Hopefully, you'll find one that will work best for the type of information that you're looking to share. Again, this isn't all the types of infographics that are available, but these are some of the most common types of infographics. And also, these are good types of infographics to create if you're just getting started. So this is a good place to start. So the first one I want to talk through is the list. The list supports a claim through a series of steps. Oftentimes, people think of a list as a straight linear, you know, top to bottom or left to right, but, you know, don't necessarily think that it has to be in that structure. The example that I have here is actually a template that's in Easelly Pro, and all of these infographics that I'm going to be showing you are all templates that are in Easelly Pro as examples, but you can see that this actually moves across the page and kind of is a little bit more visually interesting than a list that might just go top to bottom. Now, you can certainly go top to bottom. People are used to it. It's natural for people to go in that direction, but keep in mind that you can definitely make it a little bit more engaging with the design elements that you use if you work through that. Now, this is a really good one again to start because you know, how many times have you read an article that's just a list, or, you know, you've had to create something that's just a series of steps or a process? This is one where you can easily get started, work through those steps. You probably have those steps in some other format, whether it's text or in an email, and just ask yourself, how can I create a visual version of this list? So this is a good one to start off with. Okay, the next one is the comparison, or sometimes also known as the versus infographic. And this compares 2 things in a head-to-head study. And now this can compare to the differences between 2 similar things, or it can compare the similarities between 2 completely different things. It can show pro and con, and you can have your reader maybe come to their own conclusion with the information that they have, or maybe you can provide that conclusion if you wish, depending on what your end goal is, of course. So again, this is just an example of a template where we're taking a look at taking notes, handwritten notes versus typing your notes. And in this particular case, you don't really come to a conclusion in this one. It's just providing people with that information, pro and con of each way to do or to take notes, and you're letting your audience make that decision for themselves. And who knows, let's say, if this is some type of a visual blog post that you're trying to do, maybe you can ask your readership, what are your thoughts? What are your opinions? And you can maybe ask that question at the very end of the infographic to start a conversation. Okay, the flowchart is going to provide an answer to a question via reader choices. Now, I know you've all seen flowcharts. You've probably seen a flowchart on a simple Word document, and this is an opportunity to make that flowchart maybe a little bit more visual and maybe provide some visual clues for the text that you would traditionally see in a flowchart. Now, you can do a very simple flowchart, top to bottom, of course, but you can also do a flowchart that provides multiple options for the reader and allows them to come to a certain conclusion or the same conclusion, depending on how you want to work that out. So this is an example of the creative process and how eventually, depending on your choices, of course, you'll finally end up to getting that final idea and your research and inspiration. Okay, now the visual article. This is a way to be able to make your writing more visual and interesting. Now, this is an opportunity to either replace an article, but I personally think it's an opportunity to complement maybe an article that you see on the web or a blog post. And what this does is it gets people in to wanting to learn more. And with a visual article, what you can do is you can take your subheadings and provide just the key things about each of those sections of your article, make them visual. And of course, you still want to be able to tell a story visually, but your hope is that people will want to get and dive into your article where they'll have even more information. So in this particular case, the call to action might be, read my blog post to learn more, read my article to learn more. And again, this is a way for people to get in. There's a lot of competition out there for blog posts, a lot of competition for articles, and how are you going to get someone in to read yours? And being able to complement your article with something visual that you can put out and also share through social media easily to get people back to your site is very useful. Okay, number 5, the map. Now, the map showcases data trends based on location. And this is great if you're looking to showcase demographic information tied to a geography, if you're looking to maybe represent sales information tied to a geography, maybe going back to the person who had some medical information or had questions about medical information, whatever it is you're looking to showcase, you can always tie it back to geography. And if it's important to showcase the differences based off of geography, being able to provide a visual image of that geography that you're looking to work with is very important. Now, the example I have here is from a template, and the geography that we have, of course, is the globe, but you can in Easelly, and based off of whether or not you have the basic or pro account, the pro account does provide you with many other geographies that you can work with, whether it's a state or you can enter a country or a region and put that on your infographic and then plot out your data as needed. If you don't find what you're looking for, it easily does give you the opportunity to upload your own geography, or maybe you have an image of your own geography that you'd like to use instead. You can certainly go ahead and do that. Okay, so with data visualization, this is going to communicate your data through charts, graphs, and or design. Now, you can certainly use your typical charts and graphs, but what you want to do, and when you get to that point of taking your infographics to the next level, you want to see how you can incorporate that data into your design. And so this template that I'm showcasing here, you can see that it does have that simple bar graph, of course, but as you can see, it's also incorporating that bar graph into the profile of the female and male, and so it just makes it a little bit more interesting and engaging for the reader. So I know that this is a little bit more of an advanced technique in an infographic to make it a little bit more visual, but I think that once you start to get used to representing your information, you'll eventually get to that point where you're looking to enhance your design skills and expertise with that. And again, this is just a template again found in Easelly Pro. Okay, the last one I'd like to cover is the timeline. The timeline tells a story through chronological flow. And the timeline can be your company timeline, or maybe it is just your own professional history, somewhat similar to a resume, but this is of course going to be a larger piece in the infographic. And also for our educators that are on this call, maybe you are having your students discuss a topic in history and they need to represent all of the years and events that happen over a period of time, and you can have them represent that information visually in an infographic. And again, sometimes people think of timelines as being, very, very linear in the sense of going straight, top to bottom, left to right. But again, similar to the list, think about how you can make it move across your page a little bit, make it a little bit more interesting and engaging. And that's why I like to use this example here, because you can kind of see it flow through your page. And you'll also find that you can fit a little bit more events and data points there with that. Okay. Okay, so those are the 7. And actually, let me go back to this here and ask you all a question. So based off of these 7 templates, which one of these do you think will be most useful to you in terms of what you're looking to communicate visually with your audience or with your students? And I'll give you a little bit of time to answer that. And again, we're all, learning from each other. So it's also, it's nice to see what you're getting out of this. Okay, it looks like Josie responded the list and comparison. Someone, Brandy mentions the template. Eunice mentions the flow chart and the timeline. And Pretty says a combination of all, and I'm so glad that you mentioned that. And while you may create them separately and fully get your message out across, one thing that I like to mention is that don't feel that you have to only use one type of these. You might find that within your one infographic, you might provide a process along with some data points and some charts and graphs, or you might provide a brief company timeline with some data or information that you want to share visually through graphs. So you can combine a few of these together. Again, just keep in mind you don't want to put too much on your page, but you can use a combination of these certainly. Okay. All right, so let's go over just a few key steps to building an infographic or things to keep in mind. So when you are collecting all of your information and you're doing your research, we talked a little bit about considering your audience, but very similar to writing an article or a paper, you really want to think about creating an outline. This is going to save you a lot of time because it will organize all of your thoughts and also organize the flow and that storytelling of the infographic that you want. So, again, consider your audience, create your thesis or question. You're going to want to gather all of your sources and data. It's probably a good idea to gather more than what you need and then decide and then narrow down what you'll need. But you'll also want to narrow down your topic. So this is something that I know. I worked for teachers for quite a few years, and one of the challenges that they always have with students is getting students to narrow down their topic. Oftentimes they really want to start with a very, very broad topic, and again, there's only so much space on an infographic, so challenge yourself to narrow it down. And then, if you do want to explore different areas within a given topic, then you can create separate infographics for all of that, but definitely challenge yourself to narrow it down as much as possible. You'll also want to tell a story, and again, that outline is going to help a lot because people engage in stories. If they can feel like they're getting brought into your story, then that is going to be more important than even your design. Okay, so the next step is designing your infographic. Now, I know that a lot of us here, we don't have graphic design backgrounds, but we do want our content to look good as possible. So here are just a few things to keep in mind. When you're designing your infographic, again, be brief and with your text, and use graphics as much as you can. And when you're choosing your graphics, try to make sure your graphics work well with each other. There are so many different styles within the Easelly library, and if you want to make sure that what you're choosing, they all kind of work together. So you can find a couple of different styles and match them together and make them work. But if you want, it might be best to just kind of stick to one style of the infographic if you want to play it safe. You also want to limit your colors and your fonts. Make sure that you're limiting it to maybe 2, 3 max, and play around with the fonts and make sure that they work well with each other. Worst case scenario, if you're not sure if fonts work well with each other, try just using bold and unbolded versions of the same font, just to make that text separate from each other, and of course enlarging your font sizes for headlines and titles. And then lastly, when you step away from your infographic and take a look, make sure it's viewable, legible. If you as the communicator cannot really follow your infographic and you can't really read it, then your audience is definitely not going to be able to read it. So make sure that you can go through it very clearly. And then keep in mind that white space is actually good. Don't feel that you have to use every last bit of your canvas and put something on there, because then you're getting into a situation where you've got too much on your page and then there's no direction. And then you don't know, which direction to go within your infographic. So leaving some white space is certainly good. Okay, so lastly, before you push your infographic out to your students, your audience, your social media accounts, you want to make sure that the quality is where it needs to be. So make sure that your data is accurate. And I know that you probably have already checked to make sure that your sources are credible, but when you're checking for data, make sure you didn't put too many zeros, or make sure your decimal points are in the right place, because that could definitely change what you're trying to communicate. So certainly double check that. And then also be sure to sign it and give credit to yourself, especially if you're looking to, have people connect with you, establish yourself as an authority. If you collaborated on it with someone else, make sure you give them credit as well. And definitely make sure to get people back to your website or your social media pages where they can learn more about you. Okay, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this page, because a lot of this we kind of already talked about throughout today's session, as well as with the last screen size. But just the main thing that I want to communicate here are, there's a lot to know about infographics, and it's a continual learning process, and you're always going to be working towards improving your design, how you communicate your information through your infographic. And if you're just starting out, these are just a few key things to keep in mind, but continually challenge yourself to improve on your design and how you're communicating the information. The one thing that I will stress once again is that size does matter when you're creating your infographic. Again, keep in mind the attention spans of your audience. If you think that they can get through a longer infographic, and you can make that longer infographic very engaging, that they can get to the very end, then go for it. But if you're not sure if your audience is going to give you the time of day with your infographic, try to give as much quality information in your infographic, and then, make it as small as possible so that they can get to the very end where that call to action is at, where they can take that next step in the direction that you want them to go. So that's all I'll say with this page. Okay, so we are getting close to the end. We have about 20 minutes before we wrap everything up. And we are going to jump into the Easelly Designer so that I can just point out a few things. If you want to get a full demo where I talk a lot about every little specific detail and tools that are available in Easelly, you can check our YouTube channel. And our YouTube channel has past webinars, and I'll just show this YouTube channel really quick here. Our Easelly channel has access to some very short tutorials and tips on creating infographics, but you'll also see that we have all of our webinars archived, so you can always dig back into an old webinar and check out a how to use Easelly to create infographics. And I also do these continually, so the next time, just stay tuned for the next how-to webinar, and you can join one live. But creating an infographic with Easelly is very simple, wonderful for people, again, without any graphic design backgrounds. You can choose a template or start from a clean and fresh canvas. The design editor is so easy to use. You just find the objects and templates and you just drag and drop them into your canvas as needed. And from there, Easelly does allow you the opportunity to download your images so that you can upload them wherever you need to use them. You can share them through social media or share them by embedding them into your website. You can share it by just sharing a link to your infographic. And if you're a teacher, we do give you the opportunity to present your infographic from within the Easelly Designer. So if you're presenting an infographic to your class, or if students are creating one and then need to present it to their class, then there is a tool that allows you to do that. So I know some people are going to start hopping off, so I do want to just wrap up with the slides, but then we'll jump into Easelly. So if you are interested in upgrading, I know that some people have been using the basic and it might be working perfectly fine for you. If you are looking to upgrade your account, it really is worth it. I'll give you the pricing here shortly. But if you're looking to go pro and you just want to test it out, there is a green button in the video, just underneath the video window. If you click on that, it will take you to an opportunity to try a free trial. But with that, you'll get quite a few more fonts. You'll get hundreds of templates that will expand on the sample templates that are available in the basic. You'll get hundreds of thousands of images that you can use. They can be icons, graphics, but you also get a stock image library. And if any of you have bought stock images before, some of those can run you a couple of dollars, maybe more. And all of those are free to use with the Pro account. So that's a great opportunity to pull in some stock images into your infographic. And you can also upload your own fonts. So if you have specific fonts that you use for your website or your company, then you can go ahead and upload those special fonts as well with a Pro account. So if the Easelly basic account is working for you, awesome. It's great because it's free. But if you are looking for a lot more and you're looking to save time because you're looking for the image library, you can just drag and drop from our image library, then a business account is only $36 a year per user. So again, if you kind of think about, what that cost is for images and stock images and graphics, then this really is an incredible price for that. And for our nonprofits, as well as our teachers, we do offer a 50% discount. So if you're interested in that discount, then you can just contact us directly to apply for that discount. You can just email me at Dinah@Easelly. You can respond back to a email that you may have gotten from any of us. We can direct you to that. We will be sending out a follow-up email after today's webinar so that you can reply back to that as well. Now, for teachers who might have some students that you're working with, if you pay the $36 a year, we will give you the 30 student Pro account. So they will also gain access to the Pro account, which I think is just amazing because this, again, saves students time and having to, they don't have to go out to Google Images or wherever they're going to get images. They get a wealth of that image library in the Pro account. So as long as the teacher gets the Pro account for $36 a year, then we can grant the 30 free student accounts. So hopefully that gives you some more information. So if you're interested in upgrading, then this is a good opportunity. So certainly connect with us through Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and you can even email us, follow our blog to learn a little bit more. If you have any technical questions, you can reach out to us at support@Easelly. And if you have any questions about today's webinar, upcoming webinars, if you have ideas for upcoming webinars, reach out to me at Dinah@Easelly. And so with that, what I'd like to do at this point is jump into Easelly very, very quick so that I can showcase how it works. And you'll see that, you know, the learning curve for this is just, you know, it's barely there. It's just so easy to use. So we'll go through this quickly. But, you know, there are always just some, you know, little design tips here and there. So if you do want to learn more about designing within our Easelly Tool Designer and kind of expanding on your skills there, then you can always join one of my other webinars on where we take a deeper dive into that. So let me check really quick with the chat window. I know Latasha's been working hard to answer all of your questions and your comments, so I appreciate her going through that. Okay, so I'm just going to take a quick look at some of these questions. Okay, so how do you contact our design team? Yeah, so with a pro account, you can, you know, certainly consult with our design team, you know, before you put your infographic out into the world and you just want to see if you've done everything to make it the best it can. You can just email our design team at design@easelly, and, you know, they may just give you a few recommendations for how you might be able to make it more visually appealing. So we won't create the infographic for you with the pro account, although we do now have a design service. So if you don't have the time to create an infographic, we do now have an infographic design service where you can pay our designers to create that infographic. So if you're interested in that, we can also give you some more information about that. Okay. Yes, this video will be available. We're going to, right after this webinar, it'll be immediately available for replay through Crowdcast. So you can share the Crowdcast link with anyone who's interested in rewatching it, or you can rewatch it if you want. But we also upload it to YouTube and we archive it on YouTube, and we post the video on our blog as well as the slides. So we put them on SlideShare, but you can grab them from our blog post. So certainly access to that. Okay. All right, so I'm glad to see that some of you think the prices are good for teachers. It really is, and, you know, just in the sense of how much images can cost, you know, and this is, you know, if it's being used as a learning tool, you know, you don't want to spend a whole lot on it. So it really is a great price for teachers and gives students the experience of being able to create infographics as well. Okay, so with that, I'm gonna see if I can just refresh my page here because it's been sitting idle for a little bit. So to save time, I've already logged in, but I do want to show you that you can certainly start fresh, and you can use any of the existing templates that are available and start working with them if you'd like. You can explore all of the millions of visuals that are being created here, but you can certainly start fresh, and you'll see that there are just some brief directions here on how you can get started. But if you want to just clear this canvas quickly, you could just click on this clear button and that will clear your canvas. Our templates, you can access the templates from within the design tool once again. And we do have a menu that does allow you to browse some of the templates that are available. Keep in mind, I am showing the pro version. So what you see here is all within the pro version. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just click on something like food, but you'll see that there are some resumes. Actually, you know what? Let me click on resume because I know that we had some questions on that earlier. So let me just showcase some of these. This is the resumes that we have, and you can see that you can go for something that's a little bit more professional looking. You can go with something that's a little bit more design inspired, or maybe has more data tied to it. So we have a good combination of different types of resume styles that you can explore that works best for your industry, or, you know, the type of company that you're looking to work for. Okay, I think we had some questions about medical infographics, so I'm going to click on health, and you'll see these are the various types of medical and health related infographics. You'll see that some of them have quite a bit of imagery to it, but you'll see that some of them have a little bit more data tied to it. So it just really depends on what you're looking to communicate and what type of data that you have. Okay, so let me go into food because I know that we might have some people that might have audiences that are interested in, food information. So here are all of the templates that we have that are tied to food as an example. Let me just drag one of these down and I'll show you that from here, this is a template that if you click on any of the elements that are in the template, you can go ahead and start to customize the template, and you'll see that this is just the text for this template. So you can delete it and then add your own text to it. If you don't want a particular element, then you can certainly just go ahead and delete it and maybe find a different item. So for example, if I wanted to click on this item here, I can go ahead and just delete it and change the item. Even this circle here, this element that I have, I can go ahead and delete it. And this is a nice exercise to do, and this is what I like to spend a little bit of time doing every now and then, is just exploring how the design elements are layered and created to show a little bit more depth in your infographics. So you can take our templates, and because the templates, you can customize them, it's a great opportunity to deconstruct the infographic and see how you can incorporate some of the tips and tricks that designers are using to create these templates. So with the objects, you'll see that this is the object library. These are all of the graphics that you can go ahead and choose and download into your infographic. So for example, we can go into, we'll go to food. And you'll see here, I know pizza does not go into necessarily healthy snacks, but I'll just drop that image in. So once you find your object that you want to add, then you can go ahead and just drag, drop, and adjust for size if you want to enlarge it maybe. What's nice about these images is that they are completely scalable. So how many times have you used an image and it gets pixelated? Well, you don't have to worry about that because you'll be able to certainly enlarge it as large as you need to, and it's still going to look great on your infographic. And then also you can do a variety of different things with the object. Depending on the object, of course, just keep in mind you can change the opacity, you can move it to the back, move it to the front, you can position it as needed. So there's a lot that you can do here. This gray and white banner are all of the tools that are accessible to you based off of what you're looking to do with the object. So that is for the pizza object. I'm going to delete that, but let's click on the text. So that gray and white banner I was showing you for the object, you'll see now I've clicked on text. So now we've got different editing tools that are available. So I can edit the color of the text, I can change the font, I can resize the text, I can align the text left, center, right, I can bold, I can italicize, I can underline, I can clone it. So there's a lot that you can do. Just keep in mind that each item that you select is, just take a look at this gray and white banner and that will show you your available tools that you have. Okay, so with media, I talked about some stock images. You can go ahead and search our stock photos. With the Pro account, you do get access to our stock photo library, and you can certainly go ahead and explore pictures for that. So I just entered like mobile, maybe I'm looking for some mobile devices. And this is of course unrelated to the sample infographic that I had, but let's say I wanted to go ahead and drop an image of this. I'll just go ahead and select this image. So I can go ahead and drop the image. I can change the opacity. I can move it towards the back of my infographic if needed. So I can position it in many different ways there. Going back to the media, I'm going to delete this. I also want to point out that you can also incorporate YouTube videos into your infographic. So if you want to embed a URL of a YouTube video in your infographic, then you can do that as well. And what's nice about this is that it really depends on how you're going to be sharing your infographic. So if you're embedding it onto your website, then you can share the YouTube video very nicely. Or if you're sharing a link a web link of your infographic, then the YouTube video will play. Just keep in mind that if you're downloading a static image of your infographic, that the video will not play because it is a static image, doesn't use internet access for that. So just keep that in mind. Okay, the last thing I want to showcase before I go ahead and maybe check for Q&A from this session is the charts. And I do want to just point out that we have various charts that are dynamic. So these charts allow you to go ahead and drag and drop your information. And when you double click on the graph, you can import your data. So if you have information on a spreadsheet, you can go ahead and import that. Works with Excel, Google Sheets, whatever you're using. You can change the color of your graph. You can relabel it, change the values. You can add rows, remove rows. These, you don't necessarily need a spreadsheet. Let's say you do have just some basic information. The easiest thing to do is just to go ahead and, edit it and make the adjustment, and your graph will adjust. Once you save the changes, of course, that will be placed in your infographic. And again, you can enlarge or make it as small as you need to make it work with your infographic. So there's a lot more that you can certainly do with Easelly. I just wanted to show how easy it is to start working with the templates and dragging and dropping the items in here. Again, if you need some more information, check out our YouTube channel, check out our blog, and feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. Okay. All right, so let me go back to, let me put that information up, and then let me see if any questions are in the question and answers that weren't already answered here. Okay, and it looks like Latasha's been busy at work already answering some of these. Okay, so someone asks, can you use actual images in an infographic, or should only widgets be used? Okay, so yeah, as Latasha is mentioning here, we certainly recommend that you can use both. Depending on your image and the quality of your image, of course, you'll want to, of course, keep that in mind. The one thing that you want to just know is that you certainly can upload images into Easelly. So whether you're using a stock image or maybe your own photographs that you have, then you can go ahead and upload those and then add in your icons, for example. So depending on the design and what you're working with, you certainly can use both, or, so I've seen some infographics. So I have a 2-year-old daughter, and I've seen some infographics where people display an image of their child and then surround it by all of these data points, fun things that, parents want to remember about their child, favorite songs, their height, weight, and they surround it with all of the graphic icons. So that's a good example of being able to use both. Okay. Okay, what is the cost for educators beyond the 14-day trial? So I hope that we answered that through the slide, but if you're an educator, if you would like to use it just for yourself as an educator, you can get a 50% discount, which would be $18 a year per account. So just contact us and we'll give you the information so that you can get that 50% discount. If you're looking to use it with your students, if you pay the $36, then you can open the pro account up to your students, and you can get access to 30 free pro accounts for your students. Okay, so someone does video and has a client wishing to animate an infographic. Or GIF it, is that possible? So being able to create a video from the infographic that you create in Easelly, we don't have a tool within Easelly. However, if you wanted to create a video version of your infographic, you do need to, of course, do some saving and exporting and uploading those images into whatever video tool that you're using. So for example, I've used Camtasia to create my own videos. And so if I'm looking to create a video version of my infographic, it does take a little bit of taking the content, the image of it, and then breaking that down and putting it into my video tool to animate it. So there's some extra steps. Of course, that's your using access to another application to do that. So it's possible, but we don't give the tools to do that within Easelly. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, let's see what else is here. Okay, so I hope we provided a few examples of using infographics in the K-12 space, but really, I mean, there's so many different ways that you can use infographics in the K-12 space, and don't think that it's just for maybe high school students or college students. You can certainly, like I said, challenge even your elementary school students. We have an award that that was proven that it's a resource that can be used by students even at the 5th and 6th grade level. So of course it's not is what a 5th and 6th grader going to be what is created by a professional, no, but what you're starting to do is you're challenging them to think visually and how they can communicate the information that they need to in a concise visual way. And it's also fun and engaging. So, people learn in different ways. So if it's going to get a student to learn something and get them engaged in the topic, then it's a great way to do that. We have quite a few examples on our blog of teachers using it, and we have a few videos of those as well. So you can check those out on YouTube, learn a little bit more, and check out our blog. Do a search on education or classroom or students, and you'll start to pull up those on our blog post, on our blog. Okay. All right. So Latasha, I'm going to check in with you again. How are we doing with questions as I was answering some of those? Did anything else come through in the chat? Awesome. I think you got them all. Yes. Okay. Well, how about this? It's actually 1 minute past, and I'm sure people have started to drop off. So I want to thank everyone who attended. Thank you so much. Good luck. Have fun using Easelly. And I hope this was just enough information to get you started. There's a lot to learn about creating infographics, and we'll do our best to continue to give you this information. We're going to be doing this session again next week Tuesday. So if you like this session, encourage people to attend next week's or have them watch the recording. But it's always nice to have these live because we get some questions, and I hope we answer some of those questions for you during this time. So thank you so much. I'm going to hang back just maybe for another 10 minutes to see if any questions come in through the chat window, but I am going to go ahead and turn off my microphone and officially say goodbye. But feel free, if there are any other questions, put those in the chat window. I'll try and answer those within the next 10 minutes. Thanks again. Take care.